My name is Ariel Leslie, and I probably should start calling myself Dr. Leslie. I rarely say that. It is so weird and like, I don't know, abnormal for me. But people in my community are like, "What's up, Doc?" And I'd be like, "Oh, right." Like, so thank you. I that really does help me. It kind of gives me a little boost. I kind of sat up a little bit. But yeah, my name is Ariel Leslie. I actually graduated from an HBCU. I went to Texas Southern in Houston, Texas, back in 2010. No, I didn't. I graduated high school in 2010. I graduated from Texas Southern in 2014 with my bachelor's in math. I actually did a minor in health studies, and then I chose to move forward with my studies in math because I thought I really have not learned enough. I would love to know more about this whole math thing. I wasn't privy to teaching math at the time, and I thought that was like the only option was to be like a high school or middle school math teacher, and I was like, that's not for me. And so I thought, okay, there has to be more out there, and little did I know, math is like the universe, okay? And I was just studying in this one little town, in this one state, in this one country, okay? Like, math is huge. And I see the class from Alexis like, you do not realize until you step foot into your first math or like advanced class and you're like, somebody lied. Somebody lied. And I need an explanation because it's like way over your head. So I decided to go forward after doing I think I did 3 research experiences as an undergrad. And I, just kind of got more and more intrigued. I did an undergrad experience in just pure math, and I can talk a little bit about how we decipher what's pure and what's applied. And then I also did a program in biostatistics. And then I thought, okay, this is really, really cool, but it's very, very specific. And what I mean by that, it's like I said, math is a universe and biostatistics is like its own country. And I was like, okay, I would rather stay in more of like a continent realm, if that makes sense, before I kind of dive deep. And then I also did another program just to get my foundation in math, to just kind of beef it up a little bit before I went to graduate school. Then I chose to go to graduate school at UT Arlington, which is in the DFW area here in Texas. From there, I knew I was going to go into the applied math realm. And what that means is I used my math techniques, all the skills that I learned in math, and then I just apply it to a specific area. So in my case, I applied it to biology, specifically neuroscience. And so I went through graduate school. I taught for, I think, 2.5 years, maybe a little less than that, because I was on a fellowship for pretty much the entire time I was in school. But part of that time I had to teach in order to retain that fellowship. And so I graduated with my PhD in math in December of 2019. And then literally a couple weeks later, I started working for Lockheed Martin, which is a defense company. And it actually has several locations across the United States, and it is also located in various other countries, like the UK. I know there is Puerto Rico, there's like a station there, and some other places as well, like Australia. Very, 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 very diverse. A lot of the stuff that I do there happens to be kind of similar to what Alexa said. I just feel like I'm kind of a copycat at this point. But I'm looking at data for a specific program, and I'm trying to help them to figure out, okay, maybe you need to move in this path to make sure that your product is sustained, to make sure that your lifelong cycle of this program can be extended. And what is your data really telling you? Are you really doing as great as you think? Or you're not doing so great? And how can we help you to fix those issues? That's a bulk of what I do, but I will say a lot of my time is, of course, split between doing a data analysis and then also presenting this information to programs, to executive directors, to VPs within the company. So I'm kind of sitting in the room with the big wigs virtually, but telling them about all the things that are going on for different programs. So that's a little bit about me. I did touch on a lot, but I love being able to communicate, going back and forth about some of the things that I've done. So a lot of background. I actually loved math growing up. Like, I would ask my mom, can you go buy me some math books? Because I want to know my timetables, whatever we called them back then. And I wanted to learn more and more and get better at it. So I loved math as a young girl, but I actually did not start off as a math major in undergrad. And fun fact, I actually failed calculus in high school. So let me get some background on that too, because I don't want to come off like I was a slacker. Okay, so I took a a heavy combo of AP and IB classes in high school. Matter of fact, none of my classes were either non-AP or non-IB outside of orchestra.
That was so why? Why did you do that to
Good question. Okay. I don't know who convinced me that was okay. Okay. It was not okay. And so I struggled. Okay. Don't get me wrong. I was passing homeworks and passing tests. It was just like major exams that I was not doing well. Why? Because my mental capacity was just shot. Okay, so I'm learning about Carl. I'm learning about Nix. I'm learning about Marx. I'm learning niche. I said the wrong word. Niche, Marx. I'm learning about Aristotle. Then I'm turning around. I'm reading novels in Spanish, like full-on novels, like people who Spanish is their predominant language. I'm reading novels like them. Okay. Then I turn around and I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's the quotient rule? Okay, wait. Okay, so like, I'm just doing too much. And then also I'm trying to learn about the grassroots movement and like just all this stuff about US history. It was not a good combination. Okay. But out of that, I was able to pass all these different exams, and I came into college as like a second semester sophomore. So I was doing okay. I just did not do it the proper way. So that's another thing. Oh yes, I had study habits already set in stone. So when I got to college, I'm trying to figure out why you haven't read Dostoevsky yet. I don't understand why you haven't read him. What are you doing in your life? Yeah, so I'm, in these classes and I'm doing the homework and all this stuff, and I'm like, okay, I'm done. What are you guys doing? Can I help you? And it helped me in that sense. But I was just really naive. And so I would say that it was not a good idea what I did, but in the long run, it helped me. And so when I came to college, I was actually a pre-pharmacy major because that was something that I really wanted to study. And I actually, fun fact, wanted to go to Baylor, and I had some scholarship, but not enough. And then my parents were like, no, you're going to go. It's fine. We're going to do the loans. And I was like, you? No. So I was not a fan of coming out of school with student loan debt. So I didn't go there. I went to Texas Southern with a full ride, and I was like, okay, cool. So I went in as a pre-pharm major, and then I took calculus. Now, mind you, I had taken calculus in high school, but I had taken the top level of calculus, which, I learned, but I didn't have the grade to reflect that. So I'm in the class, and I'm just like, I already know this stuff. And so my professor was like, what are you doing? Why don't you become a math major? And I was like, okay. So, because I liked it, I just struggled in high school trying to figure out why I chose the path that I chose. And so it kind of turned me off to math, but it was still something that I was good at and I liked. And so I changed my major and I just never looked back. And so that's how I became a math major. That was like a 3-minute explanation. So, yeah. Yes, I did. That's a great question. So he became my first formal mentor, and through the math department, I acquired probably 3 other mentors. In addition to being in the honors college, and I was a Lewis Stokes Alliance for Minority Participation.
Oh, I was too.
Yay! so cool how we're all connected in some way. But so I was an LSAM scholar, and so of course through that you have to have some type of mentorship. You have to do some type of research experience, and so through that's how I acquired most of my mentors. And in addition to mentors at the neighboring PWI, so Texas Southern is literally across the street from the University of Houston. And so a lot of the professors at Texas Southern they had connections to University of Houston because a couple of the professors there at Texas Southern actually got their PhD from the University of Houston. So they had connections there. And so I was able to meet people there. I actually able to take a class there, and that was free of charge. And so, yeah, it was just a blessing how that all worked out, and how I was able to acquire mentorship throughout school and even into graduate school. Like people who kept checking in on me and making sure I was doing well, and connections were made through those professors. So, yeah. I went to high school at a, you could say predominantly white high school, but it was very, very diverse. Of course, in like the classes that I was taking, I was probably like one of three black females, and one of those females was half black. And then like, and it was total like maybe five black kids in the classes that I was taking. So, but overall in the school, there was a pretty good solid amount of like black students, white students, Hispanic students, Asian students, with which fall down to Indian students, and then of course like a whole melting pot of everybody, because these people come from different areas and their parents meet, and then so they have like a mix of all this stuff, and so it was really, really diverse. I loved it. And then so it was kind of like a culture shock to go to an HBCU. Don't get me wrong, I have a black family obviously, and but I didn't go to an all black school, so going there I was like, okay, all right, but you realize like black people are multifaceted. Like there's a full scale of us there. And so it was really awesome to see that. But yeah, it was a culture shock. And then when I went to University of Texas at Arlington, it was kind of like going back to high school a little bit. So I'm back in the classroom with just one of maybe two black students, and I'm used to seeing all black people, but I didn't lose sight of the fact that I know how that feels. So because I've been there before, so yeah, it was definitely a change in the feeling of, okay, how do I talk to people again? It was like, okay, let me get back into that mindset of everybody's on the same playing field, and you just talk to people, you get to know people, and you go through the situation of building up your network again. But I would say like the main difference was both institutions had an open door policy, but it's different when you're reaching out to someone that looks like you versus someone who, has a predominantly, European background, and they have a heavy European accent, and they seem nice, but like still it's like, okay, there's a language barrier somewhat, it's different in that scenario. But I will say, like, the more I started to open my eyes to opportunities at UTA, I realized, okay, I'm not alone. And then UTA has a really good program of matching older graduate students. Doesn't mean like age, but like they've been in the program longer than you, with younger graduate students. And so you kind of have like this big brother, big sister program. And so you're not alone. Like people walk by and be like, hi, I just, want to say hi. Wanted to ask how your classes are going. Can I help you in anything? Yeah, I found that really tough too, but this helped me. And so people were very open, and that's what really sold me actually on UTA, is that at some point in my when you go like on a tour just to kind of see what the school is like, and I did this a couple times for some of the graduate schools that I had applied to, and I realized at some point at UTA the professors are like, okay, well we have a meeting. We're gonna go now, so yeah, you're free to go talk to the students. And they left for like 2 hours, just and that spoke volumes to me, because when you sometimes go to like a graduate school tour, most of the time the professor is with you the entire time, or they're trying to show you things. They may be walking around campus, or they may be tell you about the different classes, but it's usually like a professor is, or an advisor or someone is there with you the entire time. But this tour was like, okay, well, goodbye. We'll see you in a little bit. After you talk to them, just come back to my office. And I was left with the students, like the graduate students, and they were telling me like everything. So they told me how they felt about things. They told me how they struggled through things. They told me about housing, which is huge. They talked to me about the courses. They talked to me about exams that you have to pass when you're in a PhD program. And just like the support and the camaraderie, like, and even the downfalls. And so that spoke volumes to me. I was really taken aback with the honesty about how they felt about the program. So, but yeah, that's just like the transition. I would say I still felt like accepted, even though I didn't see a lot of people who looked like me in the classes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I think somebody would be lying if they said that they didn't face adversity in a PhD program. And, it comes in different facets. Maybe you faced adversity coming from, the professors or administration or from the students or, just in your own personal life, family life, all that stuff. And for me, I think I kind of had a combination of like personal life and kind of adversity with students and well, not really students, but faculty and staff. And I wouldn't say it was per se horrible because at the end of the day, nobody was going to stop me from getting my PhD. Like quitting was not an option. It wasn't even in my mindset. Like, where am I going to go? What do you mean? I'm here. I have a fellowship to be here. I'm not paying for school, so why would I walk away from that? So I definitely faced issues with like personal life. I think when I first started school, like my parents had just gotten divorced, and I was like, okay, this is weird. And then just realizing, okay, I can do this no matter what. I was the only Black female that I saw in my first year. Now, what I mean by that is the students that are funded at UTA, if you have any type of funding from either the Department of Education or some type of grant like the NSF grants or anything, you have an office like on campus in the math department. And out of those people, I was the only Black female. That doesn't mean that I was the only Black female in the program, but who I could see, I was the only one. And so for me, it was just kind of like trying to, I think everybody kind of goes through that motion of kind of like trying to dull your Blackness, if that makes sense. You try to assimilate, you try to make other people feel comfortable.
Kudos to you for talking about this, because some people wouldn't say it, but you just outright said it, and I really appreciate that.
No, I mean, because it's true. Like, there was a student, and he would always call me sassy. I'm like, I'm not sassy. I'm Black, and I have some kind of, pizzazz to myself because Black people do. And there's no need for you to call me a name. Say that again.
I said that's a buzzword. That's sassy.
Yeah, that should be a shirt. That should be a shirt.
Like, yes. Mm-hmm. I was just like, you can just call me by my name, Ariel. Like, you don't have to give me a nickname because I'm not going to give you one. It's just not how I grew up. I call you by your name. So yeah, just things like that. Or being someone, and then that same person was like, oh, I'm so sorry, like, you probably should have gotten this award, but they gave it to me because I'm leaving this year. And I was like, you have the nerve to take that's okay. And so things like that, like just people not even realizing the underlying message that they're sending by the words that they choose, and still being the person to say, you know what, even though you're not very well educated in how you're being portrayed, that's not going to stop me from what I'm doing. There was a program that we call the bridge program, at UT Arlington, and basically how it works is, students would come in, it would be like a bridge from undergrad to graduate school. It gives you like that time to get acquainted with the level of difficulty that come with math courses because there's a huge gap, and it's very well known. Coming from undergrad to graduate school, you have to rise to the level of the occasion for different math courses because it's different. Okay, it's just different. And so they give you that time to kind of get acquainted. And during that time, there were some students who they felt neglected. They felt like no one cared. And it wasn't from the other students, it was from administration. And so I used my connections in the provost office and and said, hey, something's going on over here and it's not good. So can you talk to them? And through that situation, those people were able to stay an extra year when previously they were going to be basically told to leave. They were told to leave. And it's like, okay, these people are here for a reason. You knew their background, but still you let them fall through the cracks. Just for the sake of saying, we have X amount of percentage of these type of students in this program, let's push them forward, And I don't want this to come off negative in any fashion because the school still graduated a good percentage of Black PhDs. And it's just, I want to highlight that it's not always like hunky dory, like, or so great. They had some learning, like there was some learning to do. And so going through that and realizing like, hey, sometimes, you know, you may be seen as like the token Black female. There were a couple of us. One of the other students, she actually received one of the most prestigious. She received 2 and had to choose one of graduate fellowships, the graduate research fellowship from NSF, and then a Ford Foundation one. So she received both of them. Or she applied and actually won both of them, but had to choose one. And so she's automatically put into the spotlight all the time. We have this person, we have this person, we have this person. And then also like LSAM, I received an LSAM bridge to the doctorate fellowship, which is also very prestigious from NSF. So I'm pushed in the side like like kind of like token females, and it's like, we know what you're doing. So we tried to milk it dry. So we would build up our network. Okay, you want to put me in front? Okay, cool. What's your name? Hi, my name is so and so. Like, I want to discuss with you. Yeah, like don't try to make it seem it's something that it's not when we know what it is. So just things like that would happen. And at the end of the day, I still see it as a blessing because all of that helped to prepare me for where I am now. Even if I don't know it, I know that I did it on purpose. So I'm doing it, I went through it, and I'm grateful for it. And so I think just understanding that adversity is a part of life in general, because I do think graduate school teaches you a lot about life. It teaches you a lot about yourself, and you just have to keep pushing through it. So definitely lots of adversity, but we're here, so it's okay. Right. Yeah.
I'm just so many things. When you left speechless, you're just like, I'm reflecting on my own life. I'm just like, you're just hitting I really like the points that you made. And I think that, I hope that really any person that's watching this that is specifically in either a career or in school that is maybe not seeing a lot of people that look like them, to not let it discourage you. And in fact, let it propel you, you know.
Exactly.
Propel you. Because I feel like a lot of people let it discourage them. I let it discourage me. But you're hearing Ariel's story, she's looking for ways to like basically advocate for herself and put herself in those, you know, opportunities, allowing just feeding off of that that token blackness.
Yeah.
So
like you said, to go off of your point, Crystal, I think that, like you said, it should propel you. I was talking to my aunt the other day, and I was saying, like, just because you don't see anyone like you doesn't mean you can't be the first. So, like, you can be that trailblazer. Don't let that discourage you. You can do anything. We, as Black women, can do anything that we put our mind to.
Looking back, would I do this again? In a way, yes, but I would pick and choose wisely. So I am a huge proponent of AP and IB classes. I do want to be honest, they are very expensive. Yes. My mom was basically like, huh? When she would see the like invoice come in to pay for those exams, like it's like almost paying for like a community college course while you're in high school, which is kind of what it is, really. And so I do want to be honest about that. Now, that may not be the case for all schools. Like some schools do supplement a little bit, but given I was in the school district that I was in, is income issues or coming from a lower economic socioeconomic level was not my scenario. So I had to pay outright, basically. But I do want to say, I would say yes, take some classes, but don't let that be all of your classes. Like if you know Spanish is something that you really have a huge interest in, and maybe you are interested in Spanish literature, okay, great. Take maybe the AP or the IB class. If you're more interested in more of the American novels, like those that are like top notch, I think like The Life of Pi, or things like Endgame, and there are a lot of different books that are American novelty, something that Americans love to read, then probably AP is better for you. But IB, if you want to know about international acclaimed books like Crime and Punishment, then that's your route. So I would just say pick and choose. I would probably choose IB over AP for me personally, because I had the opportunity to take courses like theory of knowledge. And so I learned a lot about philosophy before I got to college. And so it kind of made me a more well-rounded student. It taught me how to write properly. And so when I was going through like college applications, writing was not an issue. I had to write almost like an honors thesis in high school. And so learning how to do those things at an earlier age, I think would be awesome. But at the end of the day, it's what suits you. So I would say just pick and choose certain courses. You can still take calculus and not have it be an AP course or an IB course. You can still take Spanish and not have the extra mindset of, oh, this has to be an AP course. You can still take US history. You can take European history, all these different things. These are courses that, depending on your high school, could still be available. You just don't have to take it at that level. Mm-hmm. Now, given that you take it at an increased level, this is my experience, I was able to garner like a higher GPA. So like a C in an IB course was pretty much equivalent to like almost an A in a regular course. So even if I'm barely skating by, my GPA is looking real nice because I'm in a really advanced course, mm-hmm, right? Mm-hmm. So that's something also to think about, because I struggled through that. I was like, okay, everybody around me seems to be doing just fine. Okay, staying up until 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. Yes, mm-hmm. Waking up, being at this 0 hour at 6:30, and y'all out here got 4.2 GPAs. I have a problem. Okay. So like, it's just, it looks fine and dandy. But at the end of the day, I would just say like, number one, do what's best for you. Mm-hmm. Don't fall for the okie doke of like looking around and thinking everybody mm-hmm. has it great, because there are so many other factors that come into play. Like their parents probably can pay for their tutoring. That kid probably took calculus through the summer. Okay. With
their mom and dad might be doing their homework.
Yes, I know for a fact there are a couple of people that parents did their biology
some of them, yeah.
Review sheet. I'm like, because I know my mom would never. Okay, so things like that you have to take into account. Like it is your path, so definitely pick and choose. Do not take straight AP classes, straight IB classes. That is not okay. You want to factor in your mental health. Okay, so I had periodic breakdowns, like every 6 weeks. Like either it was on my face, or I had a cold, or I just needed to take a nap. Okay, because it was a reflection of what I was putting myself through. So yes, I would do some things, but not everything.
That's actually a great point, and I'm glad Alexis asked that question again. Because I had a similar experience in college where I was taking all of my pre-med prerequisites in one semester, and my GPA fell tremendously. Like, I'll be transparent. I was an RA at the time, and I had 47 girls on my floor, and I was their sole RA. And my GPA fell so low that I had to meet with my boss, who was the RLC of the building. And she was like, Kim, I don't know how you still have your job, because your GPA fell too low. They didn't catch it, but they were supposed to fire you because of your grades, because your GPA was that low. And she was like, I don't know, it's by like God's grace, I guess, that she didn't get kicked off from this position. But like, yeah, that was the low point of my career. So I think what's important, or what I learned about that situation, is the importance of great advising. Mm-hmm. Great advising, great mentorship. Because my advisor told me after the fact that was too much. Mm-hmm. She was like, both like, she saw my grades. She was like, well, I guess you can like explain this to med schools, or I guess this is a great conversation starter about reinventing yourself and how you deal with adversity. But I'm just like, really?
Why?
Like, it told me not to take Alpha 3 and organic chemistry and biochem and all these other things in the same semester. So yeah, I think great advising is so important, and not being afraid to ask for help when you need it. Mm-hmm.
Right. So I think this kind of falls in line with what Alexis was saying. I I have a pretty hefty understanding of theory. And because I understand theory, I can basically understand an application, even if it's, far off from what, I was like starting out to learn, right? So having a really good understanding of good foundation in theory, I'm able to learn other concepts, right? Mm-hmm. So with that being said, like mathematicians can be really diverse. So I'm in a data analyst role. A lot of mathematicians take data science roles or data science lead roles. There is a thing as a research scientist, because mathematicians are really good at like researching things. Sometimes we kind of overlap with statisticians. Just it depends on your background and probably like your programming languages, that the things that you've learned along the way. So for me, I had a more applied background, so I was able to learn like R and MATLAB and Mathematica. So I can program and different things. So data science roles, research scientist roles, of course, professorship. Of course, you can be a teacher, because I had a teacher that was actually, her name was Dr. Bissett. Like, she had a PhD. I just did it. I was like, wow, I didn't know that people did that at high school level. So don't discount that. If that is your path, I know people who are doing that, because that is where they found their impact. So there are also like different leadership roles. It just depends on, honestly, the industry that you walk in. So I'm actually, like, shameless plug, in this organization called the Big Math Network, which is business, industry, and government, which is BIG. Yeah, so business realm, a lot of them are what you would call a data scientist. Industry realm, which is where I fall, I'm a data analyst. And then government realm, I've seen a lot of like research scientists, data scientists is what the normal name would be. Mm-hmm. But there are lots of things like actuarial science. You could be a data engineer. A lot of things on your like county level within your states. And I can't recall the name of that role, and because I used to have a huge diagram in my friend's office, which would list all these different roles that a mathematician can take. But I would just say do a really hefty Google search and kind of look at the different things that are out there, because there are so many phrases and names to things, and you're probably doing the same thing, which happens a lot in math. There are lots of names and phrases for the exact same concept, exact same definition. It's just, used in different areas. And so, yeah, I think that would be the bulk of what the names are. I'm probably missing a lot, but I would just say Google is your friend, and do lots of research, and don't be afraid to contact people. Mm-hmm. People always message me on LinkedIn. So just ask away, ask them about their experience, and you can ask me. I probably should say that.
Ask on Instagram.
Oh yes. Don't do that. I will give you my email if you want to talk. But yeah, I also wanted to second, third, and probably fourth that notion of, I would love to help out with this organization, because I have lots of friends who are always looking for ways to speak to youth about things. Like, this is our thing, and we love to talk to young girls about their path, and or even just being on panel and research conversations, because sometimes it's good for graduate students to see people who look like you in different settings. And so that was something I used to do before COVID hit. So I was going to different research talks and all that stuff and presenting there. But yeah, I would love to team up with you guys. Email is probably better than social media. But yeah, that would be awesome to just team up with you guys. And I really want to say thank you for this opportunity. It was really awesome to just be like a fly on the wall and listen to other people's stories. So this is a huge treat for me. So thank you.
Thank you.
Really.
Thank you, Dr. Leslie. I really enjoyed this talk. I honestly could talk to each and every one of you for hours, but we're not going to do that. But I really appreciate you coming and talking to the audience. Everybody, let's clap it up for Dr. Leslie.